We will now see a review of date-time functions that we can use inside of Cognos reports. I will first double-click on this column. I will go here to Functions, and then I will open this folder, Business Date-Time Functions. And here we can see a list of our functions. I will now close this, and now I will give you an example for each of these functions. First function is add days. This function can add or subtract some days from some date. If this is our date, and we want to go 10 days to past, then we would end on June the 20th. We can also apply this function on timestamp. So if this is our timestamp, we can go 10 days to the future, so we would end on July the 10th. Add hours function is similar, and it can also work on several data types. It can work on time, it can work on timestamp, it can also work on timestamp with time zone, and it works in the same way. This time we would go 2 hours to the past, so instead of having 10 o'clock, we would have a time that is 8 o'clock, and this time we would go 2 hours to the future, so instead of having 10 o'clock, we will have 12 o'clock. Now, this is true for many date-time functions that they can work both on one data type and other data type, and this is because we have this timestamp data type. Timestamp encompass both dates and times, so if we have some functions that work with dates, it will work both on date data type and on time stamp data type, and it is the same for time functions. If they can work on time, they can also work on timestamp. Now for next examples, I will just give you one example per function. So I will not give you two examples like this here. So we will just use one data type. Now we have add minutes function. So this is some time with 15 minutes. If we add 3 minutes to this time, we would end with 18 minutes. We can add months. So for this date, we will add 4 months and we would end in October. We can also add seconds. For example, here we have 23 seconds. If we go 15 seconds to the past, we would end on 8 seconds. We can add years. So this is the year 2024. We will add 2 years. So the final year is 2026. Now each functions work in this way. If this is some date that is argument of this function will calculate distance between this date and current date. And that result will be expressed in this way. This means that the distance between this date and current date is 14 years, 2 months, and 5 dates. Then we have a function date to integer. This function will accept some date and it will return the same date in a different form. Now this we read like 2024 month June and the date 30. So this is just a different form of this date. Then we have day function. Day function will use some date and then it will extract number of days from that date. The next function is day of week. This function has a second argument, which is 1. That means that our week starts on Monday. Now this date here is on Sunday, and if Monday is labeled with 1, that means that Sunday is labeled with 7 because it is the last day in such week. Day of year will return day in year of some date, and for this date it will return 182, which is approximately half of 365. Next function is days between. It will return number of days between 2 dates. This is April. April minus May, because May is after April, will return a negative value. But in this case, we have April minus March, it will return a positive value. Also, here is the value 30 and here is 31. So why is that? Well, in this case, in this first example, April is before May and April has 30 days. But in this second example, March is before April and March has 31 days. So it is important which of the months is earlier. And then we can go to the next function. Next function is days to the end of month. So if today is June the 25th, then we have 5 days till the end of that June. End of day will accept some timestamp as argument, and it will leave the date unchanged, but it will change the time to the midnight. Then we have first of month. So for some date, we will return the first day in that month. for example, for June 25th, the first day is June the 1st. From Unix time is a function that will accept some big number like this one. This number represents number of seconds from 1st January 1970, and that is how we record time on Unix operational systems. But we want to transform this number to regular date, that is to timestamp, and we can do that with this function. Our function will extract hours from some time. Here we have 10 o'clock, so the result will be 10. Last of month will return the last day in some month. That month is defined by this date. If this date belongs to June, then the last day in June is June the 30th. Then we have make timestamp function. This function accepts three arguments: year number, month number, and day number, and it will return a timestamp, and that timestamp will always have a time midnight. We cannot change that, or it will always be midnight. And then we have minute function. This function will extract minutes from this time, so the result will be 15 minutes. The next function is month function. This function will extract a number of months from this date, so the result will be 6 for June. Then we have a function months between. This function will calculate difference between two dates, and it will express result in months. Now here April is after March, so the result will be positive, but here April is before June, so the result will be negative. We can also notice here that this is April and this is June, and difference between April and June is 2 months, but because difference between these two specific dates is less than 60 days, then the result will be just -1 and not -2. Next function is second function. This function will extract number of seconds from some time, so the result will be 23 seconds and some small fraction of a second. We will now jump to this function here, shift time zone. We will start with some timestamp that has a time zone, and then we will use this function to change that time zone. So instead of having a time zone plus 5 hours, here we have a time zone plus 2 hours. We can also use official time zones, or we can define our own time zone, which is not official. So the result here will be plus 7 hours and 21 minutes. We can use any of these specifications. The next function is start of day function. Here it will accept some timestamp, and it will change its time to the start of a day. Then we have time zone hour function. So this time here has a time zone, and that time zone is expressed as 4 hours and 30 minutes. So this function will return 4. Similar function is time zone minute, which will extract number of minutes from time zone, so the result will be 30. Then we have a function Unix timestamp. This function is the opposite from this function. This function will accept a normal date, and then it will return a Unix time. Next function is week of year. It will accept some date, and then it will return a number of a week in that year to which this date belong. Be notified that the first week in the year is the week which has at least 4 days inside of that year. Then we have year function. This year function will extract number of year from some dates, so the result will be 2024. Next function is years between. This function will calculate difference between two dates, and it will express its result in years. In this case, this date is after this date, so the result is positive, but in this second example, this date is before this date, so the result is negative. Also, here difference between 2022 and 2024 is full 2 years, but in this case, for these two specific dates, difference is less than 2 years, so the result will be just 1. And then we also have this function here. This function will again calculate difference between two dates. So we are calculating difference between these two dates, but the result will be expressed in this way. The difference between these two dates is 19 years 2 months and 15 days.